Good morning, H coming at you with a brand new tutorial video for Autodesk Inventor 2023. This is going to be an part lesson, object lesson for filter plate 2-9. In the videos that we've had before in the series, they've been all about the different tools that we've been getting accustomed to, the sketching tools to create the sketch of our part, the profile, extrude that profile out. And so this is kind of the final part in that series, that beginner series. Filter plate 2-9 is going to use the trim tool, the fillet tool, the circle tool. It's going to use all the things in the previous videos, all those tools that we've been using, and kind of puts them all together in one kind of crazy looking part, bizarre looking part, right? So this is the part file here. As we look at this again, we have our front view, our top view, our isometric three-dimensional view here in the corner. And again, we have some information, like we have all the dimensional information that's here. We have some text. We have a symmetrical part. The top and the bottom is symmetrical, right? We have a lot of numeric information that's here. We also have a lot of visual information. We have the fact that there's a circle, the fact there's a half circle and arch right here, that there's half a slot. Right? We think of this as the slot tool, but there's nothing on the outside of the part. It's only on the inside, right? So we have a lot of visual information, circles, curvatures, etc., but also a lot of dimensional information or numerical information for this. And so because we have the most on our front view, just like we have in the past, front view is where we're going to begin and making this part, making the outside, perimeter first. Outside first, and then working on the internal components as we go. And unfortunately, in this situation, the only internal components we have are these two circles here. Now, what's interesting about this part as well, it also is a metric part. This is going to be using the millimeter part file, because we have 15, 35, 20, R10. And so this is going to be a millimeter part. So as we get into Inventor, we'll make sure we select the correct template for that. So this is our part file. Looks good. Again, the combination of all these different tools we've been looking at in the videos beforehand, we're looking good as we kind of finalize this this kind of segment and these discussions about Inventor as we move forward. So here's our Inventor screen. We're going to open up a brand new one. We're going to make sure we go to the metric folder, and we're going to go to the standard millimeter part file right here. So standard millimeter part file is what we want to do in the metric folder, create that part. And here again, we have to select starting our sketch on our XY plane, because we are starting on the front plane of the part. So we'll set the XY plane and we can start drawing. Again, I'm moving my mouse, with this little pan tool that's right here in this toolbox. I wanted to pan that down so that our origin is more down here to the bottom left-hand side, giving us more visible space here where we're going to be doing a majority of our drawing, right? So, and we're going to start at 0, 0. Now, the way that I would want to start this part is kind of interesting. There's a multitude of different ways to do this. And again, if you get to the right answer, the journey is good. Right? You get to the right answer, you get to the mass your way. Again, be efficient with your time, be efficient with what you create, with what you draw, and then you should be good. I'm actually going to start with the rectangle, 2-point rectangle tool, and I'm going to just make the outside perimeter really quickly of a majority of this part, which is a rectangular shape. So the rectangular shape that I need here, it's 85 horizontally and 100 millimeters vertically. So I made that. I'll right click, hit OK, click on the front view of our view cube, and now we have this kind of rectangle shape forming here. And this is going to be the basis of our outside perimeter of this part file. A lot more that we got to put in here. So we're going to go from here. So the first thing I'm going to actually do is I'm going to go to the circle tool, and I'm going to draw. I'm going to go from like this side around is what I'm going to do, kind of a clockwise motion. Again, no wrong way, just deciding that's what I'm going to do. So what I have here is there's a half circle that's actually right at the midpoint of the part. So where if this is 100, it's going to be right at 50. And actually, Inventor does this really nice thing where it actually will mark this for you. This green dot here is X is 0, Y is 50, exactly where I need the center of the circle to be. So I'm on my circle tool. I can go to this green dot and expand it out and make my circle. It has a radius of 21. So if we take my 21 radius and multiply it by 2, that gives us the diameter of the circle out 42. Right? So we're only going to be using half this circle. So we can actually come in here and trim out what we do not need. And there we are. Now, if you notice, we've lost some dimensions, right? We've lost some dimensions because we trimmed the line that was 100 millimeters, and now we've trimmed it up. So now we have 42, and then these two small ones here are going to be 29 each, right? So there's 2 there, and there's one more dimension, probably from the bottom here. There it is. And now it's fully constrained once again. And again, if you keep up with that and you keep up with the dimensions that are needed as you're creating and continuing to manipulate the part, you can keep it fully constrained. So at the end, you're not having 27 dimensions to add to the sketch. That can be painful. Right. So just keep adding those as you're going through dimensions or these other constraint tools that are here. We'll go more in depth into those with other videos as we move forward. Right. So, and this corner here, this is actually filleted. And in fact, there's a fillet in every single one of these corners. So I could go to the fillet tool now and I could just do this right now. And this is not a problem. I can do 10. I can click on these 2 lines. Boom, there's a fillet. These 2 lines, there's another one. These 2 lines, there's another one. And these last 2, there's another one. So I kind of broke my own method that I was going to be doing of clockwise all the way around and going little by little. But all those fillets were the same. So I could just knock them all out at one time and we got it, and we're looking good. So now we come to the top here, and the top actually has some lines that are kind of cutting. There's a little cutout here. So I'll just go to my line tool, my original tool that we ever looked at in the tutorial videos. We have a line of 20 coming down. This line here is 20 coming over, and then it just comes right back up to the outside perimeter. So we know those are good. Now we can dimension this too because it's yelling at me right here. Actually, it wasn't. Oh, well, we don't need to dimension that then. Just undo. Control Z. Look at that. It's beautiful. The dimension that we're missing here is actually from where this is in space horizontally. It's going to be touching this line, but we don't know where this is this way. As I see, I move it back and forth, not that. Move this back and forth, right? So that's our spacing we need. And actually it's from this line here to the outside edge. We're told it's 35 degrees. That dimension was in our drawing. And then we can just trim out what we don't need. Boom, just right down the middle, just like that. That's another way to use the dimension tool, actually, just like that. Let me undo that, show you again. Trim tool, if I go here, I could click on this dotted line, or if I know what I'm slicing through, I can hold the mouse and just cut through it. Like one of those old games that used to be out. I'm not going to say the name of it, but you know what game it is. You're old like me, right? So you have that slicing that happens there, like a ninja, and you can cut with the trim tool just like that. And again, we lose some dimensions. We've lost 2 dimensions here, so we'll just kind of add. Oh, again, that's a driven dimension there, right? So maybe this dimension here is a problem. That's one of them. We'll leave that one there. It's a bit of silence there in the video. My apologies, but we'll leave that dimension there as I'm just having a interesting time thinking about where that dimension goes. We'll find it. We'll find. I'll probably come to me as I continue on around the part. But this slot tool that's right here, again, we're using a center to center slot. And the reason we're using the slot tool for this is because it's that shape that we needed right here on the inside. And I drew it in there to show you another idea that you can do is you can draw with these tools and then dimension after the fact. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. So I want to dimension this from this line to this line here. This is 50. It's right in the middle again, right? Right in the middle. Absolutely fine. This here, this dimension here, this is going to be a radius of 10. we have to make sure that this 10 is in fact a radius. Let's find out. It is not. Well, no, it is. It is a radius of 10, which means the whole thing is a 20, as it shows there. So we're good with that. Fantastic. Radius of 10. And now we need it placed 25 millimeters away from this to this line here. This is just 25 millimeters away. And that is its location. It has its vertical placement, its dimension there. We're looking good. We're looking good. We have that. So now we can trim out what we don't need of this. Let's just do some trimming. Now here is where you might get into a situation. There it is. There it is, right? So Inventor doesn't like trimming things, especially curves that have been dimensioned, right? So here it says remove the dimension to perform the operation. So if I hit cancel, it's going to bring this back, right? So I actually have to delete this line on its own, go back in here and say, yes, this is 20, and be able to have that dimensioned, and we should be good, right? So there we go. I moved this center point of this center to center slot onto this outside perimeter line, and that got rid of 2 dimensions right there for me because it needed the 2 dimensions of this construction line, which they're not really useful to us because we're not using the construction line for anything. It's just a slot tool for us, right? But as I trim those lines out, look what happens. 7 dimensions needed. So once again, we kind of go back into here and be like, all right, this is a 40. This is a 40 here. We'll accept that one. This line is a 25. We'll accept that. This is a 10. Accepts that, right? So we have all these different dimensions that are going to be needed here as we move forward. And then see this motion here. We got to make sure that this motion here doesn't change our part file. So this has to be 85 again. And this one here also has to be 85 again because we filleted those corners, and it's gonna affect those dimensions, right? So we have that. That's all now locked into place. You can see it now. This thing here, this is what's killing me. This dot. Okay, here we go. We'll do a real quick synopsis of this. Because we trimmed this line out and we did the center point on this line, we're going to dimension this from here to be 50. And hit OK. Now we might be good. It says one more dimension is needed, but I'm not finding it right now. And again, I like to have my constraints, my sketch is fully constrained. Everything's good because I know what the mass needs to be. So I need to make sure that I have my sketch so it's not going to move on me or change something dramatically before I finish and extrude this part, right? So a little bit of the mental insight, the insight to making a part file like this is fully constraining the sketch. I'm not seeing the dimension, the last dimension that's needed. That's okay. You can click on a line like this and you can see all these constraints here, right? It's tangent to this curve. It's a horizontal line. It's parallel to the top line, the other red line. It's parallel to that line. It's perpendicular to that red line. It's perpendicular to that red line. So you can see all, tangent to this line. So if you wanted to see what constraints are listed for a specific entity and what they do, you can actually click on them and it'll highlight and it'll show you what those are, which is great. And again, those were made automatically as I was making these the lines and sketches that I was doing and the curves and everything else. All right, so the last little feature we got to add here before doing the interior is the last little cutout that's right here. Again, it's going to line up with this one here, and it is 20 by 20, and then back down to the bottom. It also is from this to this outside edge is 35. There we go. We can trim this out just like that. And there we are. So that is complete. You can also add this one here, get that on there, and this one here, get that on there. And we should be good to go. We got a really messy sketch here. I hate having things inside of my sketch as far as dimension goes for just the sake of visual ease. You can kind of move things away a bit. right? Now, we have the last thing we have in this part file is we have the circles, right? We have a circle with a diameter of 12, and it is concentric to this curve here. So this point here is the center of this curve, this arch, the fillet. This is the center point of that. And concentric just means that the circles are going to share the same center point. So this is diameter of 12. We're drawing it on that shared center point, diameter 12 there. And that is our sketch. We are done, right? So we have a lot of things going on there. We did a circle with some trimming. We did the fillet tool. We did the slot tool with some trimming. We did the circle tools, right? And the reason why we still have some dimensions that are needed here because of all the trimming and cutting we did, but we're in good position. The reason why we don't need to do any dimensions for these circles right now, like again, the horizontal, the vertical, if you've been watching the other tutorials, you're like, hey, H, you're missing dimensions. We don't need them here because we use the center point of the fillet, of the curve fillet, right? If they're on the same center point, that is the position that those circles need to be. And so it's good. It's in a good spot. We're absolutely fine, right? We just got to make sure our diameter is correct. So there it is. All right. So I'll finish the sketch. I'll extrude this by the amount of 5 millimeters. And there it is. That is our finished filter plate 2-9. So we're going to check the mass. There's the mass there. 0.030 kilograms in this case, which would actually mean that this is a 30-gram mass object, right? Because we can move that decimal point over and get the gram measurementation. But kilograms is so 0.030 kilogram mass. That is this filter plate 2-9. I hope these have been helpful for you. It's instructional. As we continue to make these tutorial videos, we'll look at other part files. We'll look at some more in-depth tools as we continue to explore and navigate the software to create some pretty amazing things in the future. So until next time, thank you all for watching. Have a great day.